Now we're going to jump into our next topic, and my guest is here. Her name is Angela KATUA, CEO of Angelique Achievers and life coach as well. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you.
And we're jumping into relationships now, specifically to talk about managing change before it manages you. All right. Angela, I mean, a lot of this you're speaking out from your own past experience. I don't know if that's something you can go ahead and maybe just share a snippet of with us.
Yeah, I can maybe mention a little bit briefly about my relationships and where I've come from. I'm a mother of two sons, and both of different fathers. I had the first one who when I was in school in campus, first year, and along the way I knew that I knew that this relationship wasn't going to head to marriage. It was a relationship that wasn't a good one, but we had to end it at some point. And along the way I knew that the person I am, I want to have a marriage. I want to get married, to settle down. And I was doing relatively well. I was in the construction field at that time. Yeah, and I was doing well. I was in the building sector.
Okay.
So I came and met someone who really made me fall in love with him.
Swept you off your feet.
Yeah, almost like immediately. And yeah, I went with the wave, and the guy wasn't really honest along the way. That's what I came to learn. We had a kid, and he wasn't also a Kenyan. He was a foreigner. And excuse me, when I was about 5 months pregnant, he had to leave the country because I wasn't doing well at that time. What I can say is that I supported the relationship. I supported him along the way. When we met, he wasn't doing so well, so I supported him even to build his business. But when I was about 5 months pregnant, it was time for him to now go to his country and see if things work according to now what we were talking about. But it turned out that he wasn't honest with everything from the word go.
Okay.
And I had spent everything I had on him and invested in his business, hoping that it will pick up. And by the time I'm back to now work from my pregnancy and nursing my baby and myself after giving birth, then he will now be the one supporting, and I will also pick up my business from his support.
Yeah.
So when that turned out the way it did, he left, and we were still in communication. But he never, we had agreed that he was going to come back, but he never came back. And it really devastated me. And
I can imagine.
even after some time of talking and trying to see if things would work, we were even planning to relocate and go to live with him in his country with my two kids. And it still didn't work. Along the way, now much later, another lady called me from his country and told me that she's been his wife for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That must have been heartbreaking.
it was.
And he had never intimated that he had been married or was married.
No, he never indicated that he was even in any serious relationship. In fact, I would question some things, some behaviors, those red flags you see and you ignore. I would question a little bit, and he would deny everything and try to even make me believe.
So you did see the red flags before, though?
Yeah. And what made me maybe stick with him all along is because his family used to call me. They would encourage me that they love me. They want me to go and live with them. And yeah, they would be there, like encourage me and welcome me to their home, to their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So obviously that is a lot to go through.
Yeah.
A lot to pick up then from, and of course here in Kenya there's all sorts of, then people just start talking, right? And there's all sorts of questions. How was it with your family and your loved ones then during this time?
Initially my family did not, mostly my parents, they didn't really embrace him. Because, there's something about parents and maturity. They always see things that we don't see.
There's that mother's intuition.
Yeah. And they always, like my father told me that what he can see now, I wouldn't see it even when I'm standing. And he tried to caution me and tell me to take my time, and I wasn't listening. I was like, I'm the one living with this man. If there's anything, I would have seen. But I should have listened. Yeah, but and my sisters as well, they could, someone out there can highlight. But when you're in love, sometimes you're blinded.
You're blinded.
You want to see the best in a person.
True.
And you deny the facts that things are not the way you want them to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so my family was aware that I'm in a wrong relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you realized that he wasn't coming back, though, that must have, as you said, it was absolutely devastating. And now you have 2 children to take care of. You have literally given of your resources to support his business. So would you say that was rock bottom for you?
It was rock bottom, because at the end of now all this, when I realized that he's not coming, by the time I opened up my eyes and started seeing things as they are, I was left with a suitcase of clothes, because I had packed ready to leave.
Oh dear.
And I have 2 kids. I've disposed all my things. I had given out even clothes, everything I had.
Wow.
Utensils, everything. I had to start life from buying spoons and cups. Yeah, so it was really very devastating. I was heartbroken. But I don't know, there's something that, I don't know, it's grace or what. I managed to hold myself together and tell myself that now I'm here with 2 kids and I have to get up and work for them.
Yeah.
So I started talking to people, and luckily I had good friends. And along the way, you know, when you're going through such a phase, you lose friends.
Yeah.
So I had lost a lot of friends, but there were those who still believed in me. And one of them gave me a small job that I managed to do some interior works. And I got some little money and moved to a small house, a small house with my kids.
Yeah.
Got a house help, and now I started working again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the effect on your children, though, because sometimes I think we can be so burdened with our own pain, and we forget that there's these little people around us who are equally being affected. I mean, this was his dad. This was someone that your other son, you know, perhaps also now began to see as dad. How was it sort of dealing with your own pain, but also trying to then comfort your children too?
My son, mostly the firstborn, was about 9 years. So he could see everything, and he understood what was going on, and he knew that we were doing so well, and because we were living in a big house and I had a car, and by the time when he was leaving, I even had to sell my car to bail him out, to buy him a ticket. And
he was in that much trouble?
No, not trouble. He didn't have money, but he was promising that I have these properties I'm going to sell. His sisters would call and assure him that there are clients who are waiting to sign the contract, to transfer the documents. So I was sure. I think from the family that I was raised up, I didn't know that there are people who can really lie, even with their own entire family.
So even the family that was calling you and telling you they love you, were they also like sort of in on this? Were they lying?
Yeah, they were. Because when I even confronted them much later, they said, "We are sorry. We had to cover him because he needed maybe support."
Wow.
And he didn't have a child with the other woman, so it was okay for them to embrace me because I have given them a kid. Yeah, so it's
so with that sort of, I mean, that understandably would cause a lot of bitterness in someone. How then do you detach like your relationship with him and that he had with your children?
The only relationship he had was with my firstborn son. And my firstborn son knew that he lied. Because he knew, he had seen all that, what that was happening. And I had to open up to him also and tell him that this is what happened. Because if you bring up your children with lies, eventually the truth will catch up with them, and they will now lose trust on you instead of making them trust you, because you have to grow with them, trusting building trust in them and knowing that we are the people that they should look up to. They should look up to us first. The world is so full of so many things. So I had to tell him and sit him down and explain to him. And he's had fears even up to now that maybe if a man comes to our life again, he will leave because his father left.
Yeah.
And now this other guy came and left.
Yeah.
So what makes the other one stay?
Yeah.
So he has that fear.
Sure.
The small one doesn't understand yet.
Because he wasn't even born by the time he left.
He wasn't even born.
So he's never met his father.
He's never met him. And the guy is, I would say, a narcissist. And those guys who will push even when they know they're wrong. He would call. He kept on calling, even until last year. He would call, and I came to realize that I'm encouraging him to keep on talking to me and affecting my feelings somehow.
Yeah.
Because I'm human after all.
Yeah.
And I realized that he's never going to change. He's never going to even man up to take care of the kid. And so I had to break every contact now.
Okay.
So managing change sometimes can take too long.
Yeah.
You cannot break a relationship with a panga.
Yeah.
It has to take some time to mature. You have to even come to terms with everything because you're human.
And I think that's a good point for us to take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to be continuing this discussion with Angela KATUA here. As we now talk about doing exactly that, like you can't break a relationship off with a panga. And I know many of you are, have all sorts of relationship issues. I see them when you text in, and I want us to just have a very open and frank conversation about how to then move on in a healthy way, and do what's best for you and children, I guess, at this point. And so 22999 is the SMS line. You can send in your questions and your feedback, and on Facebook as well at Switch TV Kenya. We'll be back after this. All right, guys, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. Thank you again for your company, and thank you very much to my guest here, Angela KATUA, a life coach who is also just sharing a lot of learning points for the rest of us. You know how they say you don't have to go through something yourself. Wisdom is learning from someone else's experience. Exactly. Sharing her experience from a past failed relationship, and how she's been able to pick herself up after that. And indeed, people are certainly resonating with your story. Someone here says she's a strong woman. May God continue blessing her. That's Mary from Nyandarua. Another says, how was she able to recover from those situations? And indeed, certainly, I mean, listening to this story, it's pretty intense. It's pretty dramatic. It's pretty hurtful for anyone to go through that. But I like what you said, that relationships, you can't stop it like you're unakata nyama na panga, like it doesn't just ati umechinja imeisha, right? Because there's a lot of ties, a lot of emotional connections, a lot of physical connections too, in your case now with children. So what would you say then is some of the first steps, I guess, when one needs to acknowledge that a relationship has come to an end and they need to move on from this? How do they manage that change?
You have to accept the situation, and it's not just in relationships. Everything that happens in life, because change is constant, it will always happen, and it doesn't have to happen in just relationships. People die, things happen, people lose jobs, and so many things will happen, and we have to accept that this is now where I am. Yeah. So where you are, what next now? Yeah. What I did for myself is I invested a lot in personal development, learning who I am, trying to look inside me, and what are my contributions to this relationship even turning the way it did. Because if I was very careful, I wouldn't have ended up with such a person. I wasn't, there's those red flags that you can ignore and others you shouldn't ignore. Like he was a player. He used to have so many other women. Women would call me from all over, from his country, from here. And some are asking me, where have I reached with him? Are we in a relationship? Because they are also in a relationship and maybe they want to take it to the next level. And this is a man who comes home to me every day. So I ignored those things. So I had to look at myself and know that I had this to contribute to the failures. So I needed to even look at myself and understand, what are my emotions? What's the level of my emotions at this level, at this point? Because I think at that time, mostly when I discovered that he was married, if he was living with me, probably I would have put a knife in his.
Wow.
Because of the emotions, you know. And those people who kill, those people who are in jail, they're not bad people. They are just there because of emotions and how they handle those emotions. So I had to learn that this is where I am and I'm really broken. So for me to know that I cannot allow these emotions to continue or even to manifest in future, then I had to change myself. Many times we just remain there and we continue suffering. We get depressed. I had that phase of going through depression, but I had to realize that I have children who are depending on me. So take responsibility for my life. Take responsibility for even the way it turned out.
Because and I mean, I applaud you for that. I mean, even just to be able to say that you had to take some time and really assess yourself. Because so many times in relationships, because we're so hurt and we're so broken, we immediately like point it at the other person and we fail to look internally, like you said. And your statement was very profound. Like, how have I contributed to this relationship being the way that it turned out? And so, you know, a lesson there, you know, just even figuring out the sort of individual you were. And so it almost sounds like, you know, looking back, if you had met him like fresh and now you sort of have done this assessment of who you are, would you have turned and run? Because it sounds like he swept you off your feet immediately.
He did.
Now would you have bolted your feet to the floor?
We dated for about 3 months and he moved into my house. I didn't move into his house. He moved in, even before my parents knew about him. And when I got pregnant is when now I'm kind of the one who asked him, we have to visit my parents. These are things I should have done before, way before he even moves in to my house. We meet my parents, I meet his parents. I get to know more about him before we even commit to even getting children. I really don't know how to ask you this one, but it's an SMS, so I'm going to just ask it. Hey Joyce, ask Angela if the guy she's talking about is Maxwell from Ghana. I almost fell on the same trap. I won't give my name for safety purposes. Well, no, he's not Maxwell.
He's not
Maybe probably could have changed his name. I don't know.
His name? Okay, all right. Well, at the moment, we don't know him as Maxwell. But then getting back to how we pick up and how we manage change. There's also this thing about just starting up slow again. And you talked about turning to some of your friends, which I think alone already takes, like, it's humbling, isn't it? Like, to go back to your family, to go back to your friends and say, you know what, I was wrong, you were right. And I need your help.
Actually, the person I went to is someone who, he's also the guy is a Ghanaian, coincidentally, with Maxwell, but I had friends from Ghana and I had been there before, so I had these friends and they're still my friends up to now, and I had seen that maybe Ghanaians are good people. And I have this friend here who is also a Ghanaian, and he was giving me a lot of work in construction. So when I met this guy, I told him, by the way, I'm dating your brother. And he was like, how is he? So I explained to him how he was, and I would tell him he's already moved into my house and we're doing this and we're doing this. And he would caution me and tell me, don't do this. But now when all this happened, I had to swallow my pride and I had to put ego away and just humble myself and go to those people who warned me.
Yeah.
Because I realized that they were warning me because they loved me.
They care about
because
you.
they cared about me.
Yeah.
So
a lesson for all of us too.
Yeah.
As we acknowledge our mistakes, it's also to, you know, make apology for where we need to.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then now picking up there and starting slow, because then you were able to sort of start working again. And I guess finding something else to do. So that because in many ways, you know, our lives can get so consumed by a relationship or so consumed by whatever we were doing.
Yeah.
And it's important, as we're trying to move on, to just pick up something else and start focusing on that, so that we can get on with the rest of life, because life is not waiting for us.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
What I did, I even up to now, I'm still in the construction field, but now I'm doing interior design and some of landscaping. But I was searching, when I was searching myself and seeking to know what I'm made of and what I'm here for, because apart from now getting married, because I had realized that marriage is not the ultimate goal to life. And I was feeling like when this man comes into my life, then I'm complete. But I realized that marriage doesn't complete you. You have to complete yourself first.
Yeah.
So what really would fulfill me as a person, because we are here to serve. Now, along the way of searching myself and personal development, learning a little bit about developing myself to come to terms with this and myself, I learned that everyone is here for a purpose and everyone is here to serve.
Yeah.
And I now started seeking my part of service. And that's when I came across my passion.
To figure out your and it's to figure out your own passion, your purpose, rather.
Yeah.
So that your purpose is not being the wife of someone.
Yes, it's not.
Your purpose and what God intended for you is so much greater than that.
Yeah.
It's not just being married or having a big fancy wedding. Your purpose is a lot greater than that.
It's greater than that, and it has to be connected with God. It's why you're here, why you were created.
Yeah.
And I came to realize that I've always been passionate about talking to people and just helping them with a word of advice. Even when I wasn't working my own marriage the right way or doing my life, living my life the best way, I was talking to friends and they would pick something from that and they would change their lives.
Yeah.
So I realized that I have this gift.
Okay.
So I decided now to major on that also.
The truth is, a lot of us, though, when we are in relationships and we realize this thing is not working out too well, then it breaks up. You know, it's poromokas, if you'd like. We then try to harbor, like we're like desperately trying to hold on to the relationship.
Yes.
And usually at least two things happen. Number one is that we're really mad and bitter at the person, but should they come knocking on our doors tomorrow, like we might just be ready to jump back into their arms. And I guess though for us to be able to truly learn these lessons that you're talking about, it's also to just be willing to experience the pain of a breakup and allow ourselves to be vulnerable in that way.
Yeah.
But speaking of being vulnerable, I mean, you mentioned how your son now is sort of scared of, you know, what if someone else comes in, will they leave? For you, where are you now? Would you say that you've healed now from this experience? Are you scared of relationships? Do you feel like you're at a point where you would consider getting back into a relationship? And if not, what steps are you taking that you can share with our audience to be able to find light again?
I've come to realize that I am an individual, and my children, yes, they are part of me, and I have to consider them in everything I'm doing, and mostly relationships, and mostly even in settling down with someone. But my children, I have come to make them understand that my relationship is mine and not theirs. And the way my life has turned out shouldn't be the way theirs will turn out, or anyone else out there. So I have come to heal myself. I've forgiven this guy. I've moved on with my life. I've loved myself again. I've stopped blaming myself. Instead, I've taken the lessons.
Yeah.
And for me, I would say if I meet someone who meets my values, then I would settle down with that person.
Okay.
I'm not scared of loving again.
Yeah,
yes,
because you're wiser now.
I'm wiser.
You're
I'm
not going
wiser,
into
and
it
I can really see beyond the words that someone is telling me. Yeah, because when words must be backed up by actions, and what actions does this person portray? What are his actions? And actions are not buying roses or wine or taking you out for dinners. Actions are, it's more of care, you know. Yeah. So now I have come to understand where I am, and I know that I know how to tell a good guy and a bad guy.
Sure. Very important.
Yeah.
And again, you've talked a lot about personally, developing yourself through personal development and the like. And someone here is saying, "Hey Joyce, please ask the guest, how does one learn how to develop themselves? How did you do it? What did you focus on?"
I had to go through a class, a personal development class. And, well, you don't have to, but it's important because you learn more about your self-awareness. Self-awareness is not just about knowing my name is Angela and this is what I do. It's deeper than that. So I had to go through self-awareness. I had to learn how to control my own emotions, because emotional intelligence is something that can be learned. And it's the most important intelligence we have after spiritual intelligence. It's even more important than our own IQ. Yeah. Emotional intelligence is more important than that. Then I also learned about managing change and change management and fear, what fear is and why I'm scared of some things, mostly in relationships.
Yeah.
And knowing that fear doesn't have to really exist.
Yeah.
You just need to learn, why am I scared of this and that.
Yeah.
So it's something that you can learn, and have values of your own. Take daily, every day, master yourself. And every day write things down, have a journal, write down, be your best friend. That's what I would say.
Self-care, very important.
Yes.
You can't love somebody else if you don't know how to love yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. Angela, thank you so much for coming on to the show today and sharing your story with us. I think there's a lot to learn from you, and hopefully you guys have gleaned some lessons as far as how to move on and how to pick up the pieces from perhaps a failed relationship or a failed business partnership, whatever it could be. Hopefully you've been able to pick up a thing or two today. And maybe before you go, you can share your contacts. Should someone want to get in touch with your business or with you for coaching, do go ahead. I'm
the CEO of Angelique Achievers. My number is 0720-265-374. Angela KATUA on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm Angela KATUA everywhere.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Angela. We do appreciate you. And guys, with that said, we're going to take a break now, and we'll be back with even more Full Circle with Joyce. Stay tuned.